Howdy there, nerds! So, today we're going to be talking about your best quote-unquote worst character. Now, I'm sure everyone has looked at a tier list sooner or later. You know, you've always kind of had that little thing where you're like, I want to see where my character ranks. Well, I want to pull up some characters I've made that are quote-unquote the worst and just talk about them. And I want you guys to, in the comments if you can, talk about your best worst character. Talk about which ones you've made, and maybe, just maybe, we can, just see where everything adds up. So, I'm going to just show you my Henry. That's usually how I introduce myself when it comes down to it. Just like, hello, here's my Henry. It's terrible. Now, as you can see here, this is my 4-star, level 40, plus 10 Henry. Yeah, I kind of went crazy back then. This was before I went with the crazy, 5-star plus 10s, things like that. I didn't want to waste feathers, but I'm still really happy with him. This was back in the day when, outside of maybe Bowie, and, Christmas Tharja, which, by the way, is who I actually ended up using here, to give him, a weapon. Now, before anyone starts going, why did you do that instead of the Altom? Do you happen to have a Katarina lying around? I don't. At least not one that I actually want to use. And, for the most part, yeah, this is basically my build at the time. I wanted a character who could be a good infantry unit. He does not have very much attack, just so we're clear. 38 attack is not very good. But with Candelabra and some other little, added spices there, I think he still really does fairly well. I've not used him much since then. As you can see, the HM is quite low, but all in all, I'm still really happy with him. And he ran really well on an infantry pulse team. I gave him, quicken pulse, and he was able to trigger Ignis in a snap, and it was just crazy stuff. And I'm still really happy about him. I'm still really, I really need to bust him out in arena now. I think I might put him on a defense team and just see how well he handles himself when I think about that. Next time he shows up as a bonus unit for arena, I will definitely do that. But all in all, I did use a Christmas Tharja on him, but I felt the Candelabra was probably the best bet after, my first choice, which was, of course, the Altom. But all in all, Infantry Pulse, I'm not sure if you guys remember him when I made him in a stream. I did make him in a stream ages ago. Now, this next one, of course, is pretty obvious. This is my favorite character I've made in the game ever. I really, really love my Fear, and I still need a good excuse to bust her out more often, because this was something that I was so insanely happy about. This was the one that I really enjoyed more than anything when it came to just my builds. The idea behind her, especially now with Nameless Blade, which, plus 10 damage, is to basically make her into a character that could trigger her special readily and do a lot of damage with Moonbow, and when she's below the certain health threshold, she gets an additional 20 damage whenever she triggers it. I don't know if you guys remember when basically Fear soloed, Infernal Kana, but she did do that, and she did that with Nameless Blade, Moonbow, and Distant Counter, which definitely helps her out. And yes, she does have Distant Counter because, well, she needs to be a good mage check. That's the idea, is that she needs to be able to do that, that damage to the mage who's gonna hit her, because she has, if I recall correctly, yeah, she has 37 res, which is nothing to sneeze at. And all in all, I'm still really proud of her. Granted, I still need to figure out if I'm going to do anything else outside of that with her, but Defense Ploy, Fury, and all this other nonsense really stacks and adds up. And I'm so proud of her whenever I look at her. Just, I want to use her so much more. God, she's still my favorite project I've made. I'm sorry, I'm getting wrapped up in that. It's just too much. Now, next up, we're going to be talking about Riss. We're going to be talking about what I've been doing with him, and yes, he's still on. I'm still working on getting him up there. I need to get 2 more versions of him, because technically, remember, he's supposed to be our 100k unit. When I get 100k subs, he's supposed to be plus 10. Still working on that, but he's coming along fairly nicely. But the thing is, when anyone ever asks me, well, why did you build him? Why did you give him Wrathful Staff and things like that? One, he needed to be leveling up a lot better. It's something that's great for that. But when anyone asks me, should I level up a cleric? What should I do? Should I give him anything? Should I do certain things? Basically, nowadays, when it comes to clerics, a lot of their damage comes from after the battle actually initiates, and after that proc from pain or things like that, because a lot of people run, the Razzle Dazzle, which is pain plus, and, it's inherent, it's basically, it has Dazzling Staff or that effect where they can't counterattack, and then you throw in Savage Blow, and that'll, basically belt out a bunch of AoE damage around that target, and that's basically what I'm going to be doing with Riss, as well as probably giving him something else to work with when it comes down to what he can do. Because again, I kind of wish, now that I think about it, I kind of wish they would give him, or at least give staff units the ability to use certain things like, Glacies and stuff like that, because that 40 res is nice, but it's not going to do him any favors when he has to deal with other things. But either way, Riss is coming along really well, and he's still really badly rated when it comes to a character that you want to build. But honestly, I think when it comes to clerics nowadays, that really doesn't matter. Now, let's talk about characters that I have not used, but I'm still really interested in. This was my Oscar. I still see him as pretty low on the list for some reason, at least when it comes to tier lists. Mostly because, well, nowadays we have so many, we have so many Horse Cavaliers, and this was the Oscar I made, and I'm still needing an excuse to actually use him. And that you can see, of course, that I haven't really done it. I'm really debating if I should give him Fire Sweep or not. But I'm really, really excited for him. He has a lot of speed. He can do really well. And that's with the Brave Lance, by the way, which, of course, is going to get him. So technically, he's going to have a lot more speed with that, which makes me wonder if I should give him Fire Sweep. There's a lot of possibilities there. I need to really re-look into him and actually get you something that could be really fun. Because Oscar is exciting, and I love looking at him, and I love just considering the possibilities. But some of you may be asking, Sages, well, then what are some of the worst characters you've ever made? Well, some things don't age very well, and that's definitely the case for Leo. This was my Leo that I made a while ago. Now, before anyone starts going, why did you give him life and death? What the hell is wrong with you? And things like that. I need to remind you that back in this day and age, Leo was the only Horse Cavalier that Horse Cavalier, what am I saying? Tome Cavalier. And of course, that was pretty much the only thing that he really had when it came to red tomes, is you either had Leo or you didn't. And when you're making a horse emblem team that's based on blade tomes and you need a red tome unit, Leo was your only real option. And obviously, he really can't do very much. This was before, of course, he got his whole change, and he got his new, tome that makes him more bulky and probably a little bit more interesting. But as you can see, back then I also couldn't even afford life and death. And, yeah, that was the fun stuff there. It was basically just, level up Hana, or you basically have to roll with life and death too. Which, honestly, when it came to horse buffs and raw blade and things like that, it really didn't matter. As long as he could actually dent a unit, you would be able to do a lot more with it. So, life and death, it did help, at least a little bit. It did help him out, kind of. So, that was just another thing. And if you ever want to see, I always keep this Marth with me because this was back in the day when Skill Inheritance came out. I've shown you this before, but this was my Marth that I made back in the day to try and try it out, because back then I thought Poison Strike was going to be the most amazing thing out there, so of course I killed off, forget what actually Poison Strike actually came from, but I killed that off and I'm like, oh man, this is going to be amazing. Boy, was I stupid. So dumb back in the day. Oh god. But honestly, now that I think about it, I really need to go back and get Marth set up to go, because he's become a really great buffing unit, and I really think I can make him work in a team, and I really think I should. There's so many options out there. And there's also other projects that I have as a plan. Like, I want to get Odin going, and I'm thinking maybe Odin with Blar Serpent. I know that sounds really stupid, but it also might work pretty well. That was one of my other projects. He's not done yet, but I wanted to just, talk about the quote-unquote worst builds you've made, and also the characters that you have that are the quote-unquote the worst. And there's a lot to be had here. And, I hope you guys don't mind going through memory lane with me when it comes down to all these characters here. But those are my characters that I've made that are quote-unquote the worst. And while Fear probably has grown up quite a bit since then, now with Nameless Blade, I still remember people making fun of her constantly, and I'm still so proud of her in every way, shape, and form. So either way. But that's pretty much it for me. Guys, I hope you don't mind this rather long little showcase of characters I've made over the past, well, few months. And if you can, tell me what you've made. And, for those who are wondering, Show Me Your Build will be back when my editing station is back, which will be Monday. So I will be back with some actual heavily edited content, hopefully. And we'll be going through that soon. But for now, I love you, Fear. You did so well. And I'm still so proud of you for soloing that Kana. Well, technically kind of soloing. Either way, what have you been doing, guys? What have you been up to? And as always, check out the description for the Gleam contest, and maybe, those comment contests as well. For now, see you nerds later. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the flip side. If I can remember where the flip side was. Is it where Oscar is?